and the topic that we picked in is pertinent today, because with the kind of hybrid work culture, the last time when I was having this conversation with the other panelists is expected to stay, the kind of incidents that we are seeing are more targeted, irrespective of organizations they are in, and the scale of organizations doesn't matter anymore. I mean, small, medium enterprise, we've seen attacks taking place, and the organizations, irrespective of their planning and being vigilant from a cyber point of view, at a time when the attack happens, we have persistently observed that the organizations are just completely lost on how to tackle an intruder or an adversary, irrespective of the processes, technology, and people that we have from a cybersecurity team point of view. That being said, one of the major data point that I come across, and I'm completely surprised with that, is for the last 3 or maybe even 4 years or so, the global average of responding to an incident completely within an organization, irrespective of the scale of the organization, is close to 110 days. And this is what Gartner has suggested. And when I look at it from a industry vertical point of view as well, attackers are just not being remorse anymore. We are talking about attacks happening on healthcare, pharma, and these are critical infrastructure from a human usage point of view. That being said, practitioners talk about effective incident management, and of course the processes around the same. And time and again, like I said, as and when there is an incident activity seen, all the processes, technologies, and people go for a toss. And majority of times I see that the incident response is panic-driven. What do you think that the fundamental challenge is, and how do we solve this problem? Harsha, may you want to take that question first, please?
Sure. Yeah, being in a practice where this is like the bread and butter of our service, right? Like going into an incident. And my experience, I'll tell you, is out of like 98% of the times, organization goes on a flight or fight response in this area, right? Where most of them have a policy, but like the real issue I'll tell is like not technology, not like policy. A lot of policies are there, like I think, but people are not trained on the policy, right? People are not identified and educated regularly, right? It's not like a one-time education, or it's not like a checklist or audit, right? It's something they have to take it to the heart and do it. And that's where I think at least 98% or more, I'll say, is I've never seen somebody following a structured in a major incident. Again, events do happen on a regular basis. A lot of them get mitigated, and we have like now technology-driven approach to automatically mitigate a lot of those, and all of those is fine. But when actual incidents happen or a breach happens, that's when I think it's like completely clueless, and at least 80% of the times, IT or like teams which are not trained on forensics handle the evidence, right? That's when the major issue happens. And I think that's when the third party enters, it becomes a lot more challenging to identify the root cause or to identify the extent of the issue overall, right? I think that's where I think, though it looks like a very small topic, but I feel like training is the key element. Having a policy definitely is baseline, but training and having a simple call sheet, like whom to inform when something happens, right? And then who are the parties who know certain skill set and whom to call when an issue happens. Not try to say that it's a small incident and just go ahead and wipe the system, right? I have seen so many cases where IT handles or not even IT, like the team which is not trained well handles these incidents, and what happens exactly, right? Like they just go and the first response is let's rebuild the system,
Yes.
right? Then multiple times what we observe is as they are doing it, the systems are getting affected in the another corner of the network, right? So that's where the major issues I feel is, and it's like the only situation is get used to these circumstances, like understand what are the different threats, and at least work on common things which are like a majority common issues, and have a team train on it. What should we, how should we respond, what are the different teams we need to activate, what should be our messaging. So that's where I feel a lot of clients falter, at least, and that's my experience. But I would like to hear Saumak, your experience like in this area. But 98 plus, this is where like the incident response is never followed. There's a BCP document which is never followed. There's a DR which is never activated. And then
Absolutely.
after like 1.5 months, when they are doing a learning of this incident, learning phase, they say like, why we have not gone to BCP, why we have not gone to DR, and the often the responses, we were told to do like this,
Absolutely.
and this is like numerous times I've heard this response,
That's a
but
that's
it's
a that's a great perspective, Harsha, that you brought in. So, I mean, this is broadly where I mean we see majority of scenarios are boiling up. It is at the end of the day, as you suggested, may not be just the technology piece of it, and if when we look at incident response per se, or for that fact, anything related to cybersecurity, one of the point that I took from your perspective is what is the importance of training, and we will discuss that at length as we move forward, Harsha. But one thing that I, if I could summarize on what you suggested, is it is not just an IT problem. When there is a cyber attack, or when there is a situation, it is not just an IT problem anymore, it is an organization problem. And as you rightly said, you have a BCP that is built, you've got incident response cycle built before. It's just that it is not followed at the right time, at the right place, in the right spot with the right people. So majorly it has something to do, if I will, with the kind of ownership that boils down as and when the incident hits an organization. But Shamak, you may want to throw a different perspective over here from a technology point of view, while Harsha clearly called out that yes, there is a challenge from the way the trainings are imparted, the way ownership lies in today, which is completely scattered and siloed. What is your intake from a technology point of view, and from a business point of view as well, Shamak?
Okay, that's a great perspective Harsha's provided. I think awareness is the necessity in across cybersecurity. It can be for the end users, or the business users, as well as for the IT security users. We are not aware on how to handle crisis, how to handle incident. I think that's a real gap. And I don't want to repeat what Harsha mentioned. I fully agree. And want to just throw some more perspective into this. So I'll say there's no simple answer to the problem. It spans across people, process, technology, and let me tell you, with my experience, I can say that I have seen many mature organizations who do have some basic incident response plan, which is the basic hygiene that every organization should have handy. Right, I have seen the shape that they are into, and probably they never think that they can be the next target for a cyber criminal. They feel that we are safe and no one is going to attack us. So we don't have any incident so far. That's a misconcept that they carry. Anyone can be the next one and the next target, and therefore the incident response plan should be very, very mature. That's what I feel is lagging today. And beyond that, that's about the process side. So I think we have to address every challenge of incident response. And the way we handle it. It can be how effective responses if the malware infects the system. What is to be done. If the malware infects and spreads rapidly in the organization, what needs to be done. These are the crisis period when people feel helpless. They don't know what to do. Am I supposed to shut down the system, or am I supposed to keep the system on? And we have seen that shutting down causes more of a problem at times. So it is not the the silver bullet for every problem that shut down the system and you are safe. Right. So, and believe me, this IR plan, can be really painstaking. It's not that easy. You have to really put in your mind and brains and thoughts to come up with a really foolproof plan on various use cases, combinations, what to do, how, when, what, how to do postmortem, how to prevent future attacks. So that is the most important thing that should be there. And I will share interesting statistics. This is in a couple of years back. I saw that in one of a report from probably IBM, if I remember correctly, and they mentioned that 77% of the business leaders admit that their organization doesn't have a formal, cybersecurity incident plan, which is vetted, reviewed, and approved. It lies in some form, some shape with the SOC team, and they are the owner of that. So there is no real importance to that plan. That's number one. That's of the process. Number two, Praveen, what I can think of is, I think, when we talk about incident response, we typically depend on the SOC analyst, so that's what Harsha briefly touched upon. The skill doesn't exist, adequately as it should exist to manage or handle an incident, when it happens, right? So that lack of maturity causes a problem for the organizations, right? And as a part of this incident response, we need to have participants from everyone, legal, threat researcher, corporate communication, business leaders. It's not just a security team who is responsible for this. We should be all ready and trained how to handle it. And the third one is the tool, which is the least or the lowest of the problem that we see. Tools exist in various forms. It can be COTS, it can be open source. There are various forms of tools that supports us in incident response. The team needs to know how to use them. That's also, again, back to pointing to the same common root cause, skill issue, right? But yeah, with a combination of proper tool, proper process, and right skills, I think we should be able to address this.